Well, welcome, Diana. It's so great to have you on the podcast. I am so excited to have this conversation with you.
I am even more excited to have this conversation with you because I feel like I can talk about this topic from experience, and that's going to be so fun. And also I am just so excited to be able to spread the word about this topic so that more people can enjoy the benefits of using these tools, for their advantage. So yeah, I'm so happy and excited, and thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay. So for our listeners who don't know who you are and what you do you want to just give people a little rundown of those things, all the things that make
absolutely.
you?
Okay. Absolutely. Well, first, my name is Diana Sofia. I am originally from Peru, but I live in California in the United States. So English is my second language, which is an added, an added complexity in my story. And what I currently do is that I am a subconscious reprogramming coach, and I use tools like hypnosis, emotional freedom technique, which is also called tapping, and neurolinguistic programming to reprogram the subconscious mind, to help my clients do what they want to do, show up in the world how they want to show up, and just accomplish their business goals, career goals, or life goals. So that's what I do. And I use these tools because they focus on the subconscious mind. And I have find that once I switch from doing general coaching to diving into the subconscious mind is when I start seeing the most results in the people that I was working with. So that's why now that is the sole focus of my practice.
Love it. Oh, it's so good. And
yeah.
I met Diana in this group coaching program that I'm a part of. She's one of the coaches, and they had done a retreat that I was not able to attend because I was overseas. But she did an EFT tapping session, and I followed along on watching the replay. And I remember I was so moved. Like, I think I may even been moved to tears. And it was such a transformative experience. The story that came out has been another breakthrough that I had recently is attached to that story that came out in that session. And I thought it was
amazing.
So powerful that it doesn't even have to be in person. It doesn't have to be one-on-one, that it could happen in a replay and you could benefit so much. I thought was so cool. And I thought would be really valuable for the actors or even non-actors who could be listening to the podcast, for anyone who feels like maybe something's holding them back. They don't know what it is, or maybe they've got stage fright, or, have some sort of insecurities or things going into an audition or into a performance or into speaking in front of a group of people, or even just getting online more and just being present. How does tapping help with that? And can you explain just sort of the basics for people that don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is my favorite topic. So tapping, or emotional freedom technique, is also known as EFT, because it's shorter. Basically, what it does is that it combines tapping on certain specific acupuncture points that engage the relaxation response. And then the whole idea is that you are exposing, at the same time that you're tapping, you're exposing yourself to whatever it is that may trigger you. So for an actor, for example, it may be going into that, casting, or whatever it is that may trigger nerves or stage fright or any of those things, or even just fear of rejection, right? Like fear of going into one more event that could mean there's a no, and all the emotions and meaning that can create in the person, right? So when you start tapping, you have to bring to your awareness the emotions, the event, whatever is the triggering situation, so that at the same time that you're tapping, you're almost like neutralizing these things in your body. So what it does is that it creates, just like the name says it creates emotional freedom. So you can go into these situations feeling way lighter, and just feeling way more calm and just totally different. And then what happens also is that when you can go into any of these situations in a more relaxed and calm state, you have more access to your inner resources, to your memory, to your creativity, to your improvisation skills, all the things, right? When we're too nervous, it's really hard for us to access the higher part of our brain. And what tapping does is literally just neutralizing these nerves so that we can navigate these situations in a much more calm way, and we can just feel powerful in those situations. And basically that's what it does. And then in terms of, for example, so that it would be for this specific case, but in that event, what we did was going through uncovering certain limiting beliefs that were showing up for people, and then reframing those, right? So basically, any limiting beliefs that you may have is going to be almost like stuck in your subconscious through the power of emotion. There's some sort of emotion attached to it, or emotional charge that this belief creates, right? So when we're tapping, it's the same concept. It's like you are exposing yourself to that belief, and then as you're tapping, you're almost like neutralizing the grip that belief has in you. So then you start to let go of the belief, and then you can welcome believing in something different, more empowering, that actually is going to help you be more effective in whatever it is that you want to do or whatever it is that you want to accomplish. So basically that's how it works in real life. It's hard to explain unless you like. The nice thing is that we have videos, so we can actually tap so people understand exactly how it works. But that would be the foundation, like kind of how I would explain it at a basic level. We are exposing ourselves to whatever it is that we want to let go of, and then we are tapping at the same time. And what that's doing in the brain is that it's sending a signal that this thing that you are exposing yourself to that may have created nerves, sadness, or whatever emotion, now is going to be attached to a sense of relaxation and inner peace, so that you can feel way more chill when you're doing anything, like, I don't know, interviews, acting, anytime you have to perform, like anything. And it's also important to know that it's proven, that it's science backed. So it has over 100 clinical trials that has been tested for so many different things, but this is just one of the uses that you can have with it.
Amazing. That so good. This is such a game changer for actors, and especially the actors that I primarily work with, because when you layer on wanting to perfect your American accent, it's a whole extra level of pressure that they go through in their heads because they want it to be perfect. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of people judging them. What are they going to think? What if they get it wrong? There's so much fear and overusing the brain that comes into it, that I think this could be like such a game changer for so many actors that I work with. But one thing that you mentioned, maybe not everyone listening may know, is what's a limiting belief?
Got it. Okay. Yes. Very important. And also I mentioned the subconscious mind, and I am going to explain that as well, I think, because that's going to be important. So a limiting belief is just any belief or thought that we are repeating continuously in our heads, that we may be aware of, or it may be unconscious also, that is in any sort of way limiting our behavior or how we want to feel in the world. So a limiting belief can be, for example, something that I had, like, if I am not, what is that limiting belief I had? If I am not outgoing, then that means that I cannot be successful. That if I am not like, I don't know, like other people that can just go and talk to anybody, then like I'm not going to be able to succeed in my business and in life, and that was limiting me, because it was tainting the way I saw all my interactions with people, and it was limiting my success. It was automatically saying like, well, I mean, because I am not like this, I'm never going to get this type thing. So that's something, and it's really, I mean, a limiting belief is one of the, what I call subconscious blocks. It can be conscious or unconscious. But there's other blocks that could be happening as well. So sometimes, for example, at a conscious level, somebody will be on board with doing something, right? But then when actually they go and want to do it, there's like a full body visceral reaction, like there's no way I can do that.
Yeah.
And I can talk about like an example for that would be, for example, I always wanted to do public speaking since forever, you know, and I was like so excited when I would like talk about it. It's like, oh yeah, I mind if I could do public speaking and just be good at it and this and that, and I can spread my message and all these things. And then, you know, I registered for Toastmasters, you know, and I literally every single week, I literally had a visceral reaction to having to present inside of Toastmasters.
Mm.
And it never went away. It's like it just decreased, you know, but I always had that like visceral reaction. So like at a conscious level, I was on board with it, right? Yeah, I want to do public speaking and all these things. I want to not have nerves. I want to be good at doing this. But then my body was in just like, I mean, fight or fly. You know,
Mhm.
every time I was in front of people, every time I had to present, I literally just wanted to run away. I mean, I swear. And now it's totally different, right? But that's what I mean. Sometimes it's not necessarily a limiting belief that is blocking us from whatever that we want to do. Sometimes it's literally just this full body visceral reaction experience that is just sending us into fight or flight. And it's like, oh no, like, no, I cannot do this type thing. You know, so it's just anything that is blocking us from doing, feeling, or really embodying the type of person that we want to be. I think that's how I would like summarize it. And then for the people that don't know what the subconscious mind is, if you were to imagine the mind as a whole, you know, as an iceberg, 10% of that iceberg is going to be the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is the part of our brain that is in charge of the of rational thinking, planning, like all the straightforward thinking. And then the subconscious mind is basically 90% of our mind, and it's in charge of all our bodily functions, everything that happens automatically that you don't have to do. It's also in charge of the fight or flight response, and also is storing all the programming that we have, you know, since we were born, since we were in the womb until the day of today. Everything that has ever happened to us, everything that we have experienced, anything that we have lived is stored there. So even if consciously there's some things that we don't really remember, our childhood or things that happened to us, our subconscious mind has those memories and has all that programming and all the meaning that you have attributed to all the experiences that you have ever experienced in your life. So that's, and also is the source of a lot of our unconscious blocks, and also our limiting beliefs and our values and all these different things. So the subconscious mind is really running the show. And a lot of times we think that we're running the show, but actually it's not like that. And a lot of times that's why you have that notion of like, wait a second, it's like, I really, really want to do this, and I don't know why I cannot get myself to do it. And the reason that happens, that there's that dissonance between what you want to do and what actually ends up happening, is because there's something inside sometimes of our subconscious that we're not aware of, that is blocking us from like actually taking action and sabotaging ourselves, right? And that can be so many things. I mean, sometimes when I have been working on visibility, like being visible with entrepreneurs, something that happens is that they don't know why they cannot just go and do it, right? It's like they have so much resistance. And then when we dive deeper, there is some fear of rejection that may have come from somewhere in childhood where they were made fun of, or like they were kind of like neglected, like put to the side by like a group of like friends, or you know, like I don't know, there's like little things like that that may have happened to your little you know, your 5-year-old, your 6-year-old, your 7-year-old, that you may even not remember, you know, but that have left an imprint in you, and that now are tinting the way that you are seeing yourself and life, you know.
Yeah.
And then you start repeating and getting into these patterns, and you don't even know why, right? And the answer just may be in something that happened in the past that you just need to release and heal.
Yeah. Oh, so
Yeah.
good. So good. Okay, so this ties in so nicely with what I teach as well, because a lot of times, you know, when I work very specifically with actors who are from other countries that want to sound American. And I tell them it's like learning how to speak all over again. And when we speak, it's an automatic speech response, automatic, which means it comes from the subconscious. We're not
Yes,
thinking about when we speak,
absolutely.
right?
Or
So,
ideally, we don't want to be speaking like
exactly. We
thinking
don't want to be
exactly.
thinking about it. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the muscles, the coordination of the muscles, the habits that we have when we speak is all been embedded from a very young age. And it's very hard
Yeah.
to shift those patterns if we're not diving into more of a subconscious way of thinking about it. So
Yeah.
when I teach them, it's about being consciously aware of how to do all the actions and learn all the rules. But then when they go into performing, they need to go tap into the subconscious. But
Yeah.
to create an automatic speech response, it takes at least 66 days for that to happen. And so
Wow.
it's the act of practicing each day and being consciously aware of it so that you can be unconsciously doing it in the act of performance. So it's that balance and that dance between the conscious and the subconscious. And the subconscious is also where we tap into for our emotions when we're performing as well.
Oh, yeah, that's so true. Yeah, that's so true. So yeah, so then your students are well versed in like, how the subconscious actually can help them, and also how can it stop them, right?
Yeah. But like the fright, I always forget how to say this, the fright or flight.
Fight or flight. Yeah,
Flight?
fight or flight.
I can never say it right. That's such a tricky thing, especially like with
Yeah.
auditions, for example, the nerves kick in and the fear of judgment. So we talked about the EFT. You also mentioned hypnosis.
Yes. Yes. I have
Is
done
that,
both.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do both. And in my own journey to just, as I was saying, breaking out of my shell and wanting to do and feel comfortable, speaking in public, doing public speaking, for me, it was necessary to just dive deeper into the subconscious. So that's why I ended up doing as well, like hypnosis. And what I think, I mean, just so people understand a little more about hypnosis. Hypnosis is basically just a state of where you're really, really relaxed. And when you're really relaxed and you feel really safe, then it's easier to bypass the critical factor of the mind, which is that critical thinking, and get into your subconscious. It's almost like, we're like just getting in there directly. So at a subconscious level, when you get in there, and you're in hypnosis, very relaxed, very chill. Like what happens is that it's so much easier to create change at that level. So instead of like telling your conscious that it's only the 10% of your mind anyways, oh yeah, do this, you can just literally bypass the critical factor of the mind and just go directly into the subconscious and create change from there. So
Okay.
there's two things. Yes.
I'm just like,
Tell me.
I'm like thinking like, I'm so excited for my actors because so many times they'll go, oh, I'll never get this accent. Like, like it, what if it's not for me. Like, what if I can't do this? And they're so hard on themselves. So many, like, I'll just never get it. Like, and that's a limiting belief that they'll never get it. They can, but they have to put in the steps to get to where they want to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like I would say, I mean, one of the benefits of doing, so like how I see like these two tools apply to what you do is that, so when I work with people in general, this is what I do. There's always the bucket of things that are the obstacles to what you want to accomplish. Everything is getting in the way. And then once we have removed those, or we have removed most of those obstacles at a subconscious level, most of them, what we do is, or what I do with my clients is doing the embodying part of the transformation. So embodying goes into taking action and also using hypnosis, for example, to rehearse, ahead of time, how do you want to behave instead? How are you going to embody your new self? So how I see what I do apply to what you do is that first, like using hypnosis and EFT, you can just remove anything that is blocking you. So if there's anywhere inside you that, for example, I was like, when you were saying about, you were talking, I was just thinking how as humans, we are, since little babies, we learn to recognize certain gestures, in people's faces, in all our, our parents' faces, to see if they're upset, if they're fine, if they're smiling, if they're smiling, it means one thing, whatever it is. And we navigate life, with those micro, it's like kind of like micro adjustments, oh yeah, that face means XYZ. So can you imagine, when for any reason, you are maybe, I don't know, like, how do you call it when you go to perform in front of people that is for selection? Is it casting? Is it a casting call, or is it?
Yeah, like an audition or
Audition. Okay, that's a word.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a word. Imagine if you go to an audition and you have somebody that has a, horrible expression in their faces, they're like, for whatever reason, whatever is happening in their own mind world, whatever it is, they are just like, they have this weird face. And for you, that's like triggering somehow, that to the point that it can take you out of your game. So like you can, with EFT, one of the things that you can do is literally get to the point where nothing outside of you, no triggers outside of you bother you. Not the amount of people, not the gestures, not that, you can like desensitize, almost like, it's almost like neutralize any type of triggers in yourself. So for example, putting this into context, I used to get really triggered of seeing, in Zoom, a lot of little faces, everybody looking at me. The whole idea of everybody looking at me was a big deal for me. And then when I dived into doing EFT to release that trigger, right? Because whatever is that I was seeing was really triggering, and I had a visceral reaction to it. So when I dive into that, what happened? I was doing tapping and all these things. And then usually when you do tapping, you try to, just like I did in March, you want to do that at a present level, like at right now, and then try to elicit when in the past you have felt something similar, right? Because usually everything that we are experiencing right now comes for the most part from something that happened in the past, where we created a limiting beliefs or a reaction or a trigger or something like that. So anyways, what had happened, that I didn't even remember, is that I just saw myself as a little kid in front of all these adults. Everybody was looking at me and I had done something bad. So can you imagine, as like my adult self? I didn't know that. I had no idea. But then every time I had to do anything in front of people, I was terrified, right? So that is the type of thing that maybe is getting in the way of somebody is like speaking normally, or like all these thoughts. So for example, the thought of like, I am never going to be able to get this, that is going to create a sense of hopelessness, like defeat, frustration, like all these different emotions. Somebody in that situation could tap onto anything that they're thinking that is making them feel hopeless, disappointed, frustrated, whatever it is, and they can neutralize the grip of that thought to the point that that is a non-issue. So like sometimes, you're tapping on this thing that is like has so much emotional charge, tapping, and you're saying the thing, right? Saying the thing and tapping. And then at the end, you're like, this is the most nonsense thing ever. I'm actually going to get it. Of course, I'm going to get it. I'm like so good, like I have done this and that and whatever. So it's almost like once that grip of that thought, emotion, event, experience is gone, then this inner sense of confidence just arises, and these new resources just arise on their own. So then once we have removed all these blocks, and then sometimes I'll use hypnosis for that, or somebody can use hypnosis as well, but both of them, EFT and hypnosis, are great for removing all those obstacles. Then how these tools can help you, especially in hypnosis, is that you can go into rehearsing your new self, that actually nails it. Imagine if you can, because in your imagination, you can create anything. And for the mind, there's no difference between what is real and what is imagined. So if you go into the hypnotic state, which literally is just relaxing, if you go into a relaxation state and start visualizing yourself nailing it, then that is already creating that muscle memory, or like the brain memory or the subconscious memory that you were talking about. And then once that's done, then what they throw away type thing, like what you were saying. So, okay, once like, you are really aware and really like good at being aware, then in the moment of actually using it, those resources become more available to them, more automatically available to them. So that's the same thing that I would do for somebody that, for example, wants to feel like working out, same thing. It's like maybe they don't feel like working out, and then when there's this switch at the subconscious level and they see themselves being the type of person that wants to work out, then when it's that time to actually do it, they're like, oh, you know what? I actually feel like doing this. So it's the same thing that somebody that is working on their acting and their American accent could do as well. And something very interesting, just to wrap this up. So there's a study that they did where they told athletes, there's like different groups, right, in this study, but they told athletes that to 75%, like a group had to do 75% of actually, practicing in real life, and 25% imagining, then 50-50, and then 75% imagining, and only 25% actually practicing. And the crazy thing is that the group that did 75% of creative visualization, which can be hypnotic visualization or whatever it is, outperform all our groups, which just goes to show the power of conditioning your brain to do something with your eyes closed and just in that relaxing state, so that it can actually get to your subconscious mind. So if your actors would just take the time, to do those reps, in their heads, they could advance so much faster.
How often would you do it?
I mean, every day. If they really want to, if they want to do it, they can just literally just go into the subconscious, they can go into the subconscious mind, basically just like, as I'm going to close my eyes and relax. And they can just notice their breathing, relaxing, and then they can just imagine that. Obviously, if you want that to be even more effective, you can actually create a little, like, I don't know, hypnosis.
Like a hypnosis meditation.
Yeah, exactly like a meditation, and then people can literally just go into a very relaxed state and then visualize themselves just nailing it.
And then how often would you do the EFT every day, or like before an audition sort of thing?
So for EFT, yes, I would say this is what I did. I literally sat down and wrote down everything that was triggering to me about speaking. I envision myself in every single situation where I didn't feel fully self-expressed in speaking. Every situation I could. Coaching calls, one-on-one calls, stage, like all the things that I wanted to do more freely and more confidently. And I wrote down everything. Okay, and what exactly is triggering me? So like I would go back in time, like in my head, okay, I think like all the faces looking at me, I don't like that. All the little like screens, that makes me nervous. Like literally just wrote down that whole thing. Everything that ever like makes me nervous or like gets me out of my game. And then I start tapping on everything, my whole list. Some things I was able to tap alone. And then some other things where I was having a harder time. So I just had a tapping coach that I was doing personal work with. So one of my topics that I wanted to work with her was public speaking. So I did a bunch of things on my own, and then we dive a little deeper with certain things that I didn't understand why they were still bothering me. So I just use her guidance. And then the awesome thing that they could do is imagine if like there's I don't know, an audition that is like really high stakes. I have to imagine that there's some of those, right? That you're like, oh my God, I really want this part, or oh my God, I'm gonna be in front of like so and so, and this
Spielberg
is
or something, exactly. Like an audition for Steven Spielberg. Yeah,
exactly. It's like a big deal, right? Okay, when that happens, you can actually go into your imagination and rehearse like the whole thing, and every time you in your head feel scared, of like when you're imagining that event in the future, you tap on that. Oh my God, okay, the face, just the imagining, that I'm gonna be in front of so and so, that just freaks me out. Okay, let's tap on that. You know what I mean? And you tap on that until you don't mind being in front of them. Okay, perfect. What other thing? Oh yeah, like the fact that it's like, I really, really want this part. Okay, let's just tap on that. Let's just neutralize you, so like you're not so like in grip mode and like attachment mode, so you can just relax. And then anything that is like triggering about that potential in the future, you can also tap on that. So it's like funny because it's kind of like a full circle moment, because that event that I went in, that where you saw the recording in March, I have never been on stage in front of 120 people doing a segment myself. I offered myself to do it when I was still not doing this type of work fully, and or like not receiving it, I guess, from my coach, and I offered myself to do that terrified, and then I was like, I'll just figure it out. And then I knew that I was going to have to work at a subconscious level to let go of like more triggers and stuff, so that was, to me, that was the first time that I was able to handle like a stage like that. And it was all because I literally ran down every single minute of that event, of how it could play out, and tap on that with my coach. It's like anything that could go wrong, everything. It's like, oh, I blank, I this, like everything. I took it to the extreme. It's like I mess up, like it's horrible. They make me wait. Everything that could go wrong, I just like tap on the extreme. It's like everything fails. So then when I went into like that situation, it's like I can do this. It's not a problem anymore,
Right. Wow.
It's incredible. And it's like, the crazy thing is like when you actually go through the experience of doing tapping and you start releasing all these things and you feel so much different. It's almost like trippy, because it's like, who is this person that is not afraid of doing these things anymore?
No fear. Right? That's so great. Yeah. I was
it's
just
so
thinking,
crazy.
Gosh, that would have been helpful. Like the last play I did, it was a play called Savage in Limbo, and I played Denise Savage, the main character, and the play is a series of monologues. Like it's very monologue driven, monologue heavy. So I had so many big monologues to do, and one of my fears every night was I was going to forget a monologue or forget the order that they go into, because there were so many.
Oh
and
my
like,
God!
What if I jump into like one later down in the play and I skip like a whole 20 minutes or something? So every night before we would go on stage, I would literally do like a walkthrough, just saying really fast, like just sort of saying like each monologue going from spot to spot, so I would remember in my brain. But man, EFT would have been so much easier. I probably wouldn't have had to do that every night.
Yeah. And more than anything, just like clear the nerves, right? So you can be more effective when you're doing that. Yeah. But I mean, it's seriously incredible. I will just say, anybody that wants to be visible, that has to do this and expose themselves. And, like being visible is so vulnerable. Seriously. It's like all eyes on you, all this fear of like, messing up, and who knows what else is like running in the subconscious mind that could be, I don't know, activated when you're in these situations, right? Like that we don't even know. It's like running in the background. So it's very vulnerable. And I will say that, is there one area of my life where this has been the most transformational, this work of subconscious work with EFT and hypnosis that has been the most transformational for me, has been exactly this: being visible, public speaking, being fine with messing up and just like, yeah, I'm just going to continue talking. English, as I was saying, it's my second language, so that also plays a big part when you are trying to put yourself out there in English, right? Like my business runs in English, and way back when I had so many thoughts about my accent and this and making mistakes and whatever it is, now I can care less. It's like, you know what I mean? But I am able to be in this spot right now, and even like right now talking to you, having an interview and being so chill. I'm like, yeah, this is so fun. We're just having a conversation. I'm explaining all these things that I love. It's like I would have not been able to do this with the sense of calmness that I have right now if it wasn't for the work that I did with EFT and hypnosis. And the nice thing is that sometimes I mean, if you're going into auditions all the time, it's a really good tool to have all the time. But I will say that if, you are, I don't know, like an entrepreneur, and you're just going into like, just doing stories or whatever it is, recording content, you can get to a point where nothing of that is just, an issue. It's like, yeah, it's not an issue anymore. I can just do it, no problem. I don't care. It's like, I'll just go and talk, and it just flows, right?
Yeah.
When you're exposed to whatever, so for example, for somebody that's doing public speaking all the time, it's a tool that you're going to be using, or you want to be using all the time as well, because you may go to bigger stages where the stakes are higher, where maybe you're talking about something new, whatever it is, right? That takes you a little outside of your comfort zone. So then you can just have these tools and use them anytime. It's seriously incredible. So if anybody is, feeling held back by anything that is running, that mind chatter is running in your head,
there's a lot of mind chatter in actors' brains. A lot. So much. So okay. So if somebody's listening and they're intrigued, how do you work with people? Like, how could somebody reach out if they want to learn more from you or work with you?
So right now I do all my work one-on-one, and I actually specifically focus on visibility, and it's basically the confidence and the also self-esteem that you have to have. Like, you have to be so freaking sure of yourself, to not care for what anybody think, and just have no fear, of judgment, rejection, on all that stuff. So like, I work on those specific topics in my one-on-one practice. And anybody that wants to learn more about this can follow me on Instagram. I'm sharing stuff all the time there, just talking about like the different uses of these very specific topics. And my website is Diana Sofia. We'll put it somewhere in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, DianaSofia.com. And also I have a freebie that, even though it's about procrastination, it teaches you it teaches you more about EFT. And I also have a free, what is the name? Hypnosis audio. So they can totally just download that and use it like every day. If they want to repeat to themselves, like, I can nail my American accent, and then just imagining themselves doing that, they can do that with that audio, because it's actually a general one where you can just plug in whatever it is that you want to work on. So those are just some free resources that they can start using. And it's like, happy to help anybody, and answer any questions that anybody may have.
That is so awesome. I'm gonna have you come into my group program, Ultimate Screen Actor, sometime, and work with our actors, because I think it's just so powerful what you do, and it's so needed for us actors. We need all the help we can get.
Seriously, I can only imagine. Seriously, my husband has been doing stand-up comedy.
Wow.
And I have been just tapping with him so much. Because it's like, it's very vulnerable, and like, it's, when you're doing comedy also, like, you don't receive laughs, and it's like all this roller coaster of like, I did amazing, I did terrible, I did amazing, I did terrible, right? So like, it's so good for that. Seriously, it's so good. Just anybody that wants to be visible and just let go. I have to imagine also, it's like, there's so much nerves and like emotional drainage, from doing all of these things with all the nerves. It's like, every time you're just going into, fight or flight, there's such an increase of energy that goes into your body, adrenaline, cortisol, all these different things that are just after the fact, they just drain you, so you just feel like wiped. So imagine if you can just get rid of all that stuff, all the nerves and everything. So you also become more effective, have more energy after. It's like just so good in so many ways. So anything that anybody wants to know, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Diana. It's been such a joy having you on the podcast. I'm so inspired to learn more from you, and I'm sure my audience is as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's my joy to be able to tell people about these amazing tools. So thank you so much.